Hey guys, how's it going? This is Dustin Garman here, and with my co-host.
Hello. I am the guy that is on pretty much everything that is done for Super Show Chibi. And what are we doing today, Justin?
And our special guest is none other. Well, typically he doesn't need an introduction, but it's the boss himself, Mr. Steve Risk.
Oh, hey,
Um,
man.
how's it going, Steve?
It's going good. Happy to have tell us about yourself back. Can we call it season two? Is that what's going
I
down?
mean, there was a season 2 pretty much that was run exclusively uh, by Foxworthy. So I guess
So
season
season
3.
three. Yeah.
That'll work. Before we start today, I just want to tell LFF Universe to just keep Bob Dunn in their prayers at this time. I know they keep updating in our discussion group and stuff, and I just I pray that everything goes well and be happy to have him back and play and have some fun. I miss him.
Oh, I absolutely missed the brain. Became a good friend of mine, both on the game table and outside of it. Spent a lot of, one-on-one time. Had some famous mandates with the brain. We went to the 27 Club. That was a lot of fun. We even played a little craps, blackjack. Can't say enough good things about the brain. And I know him. He's a stubborn man. He's going to keep on fighting, and that's exactly what he's doing right now. And I know that we will see him pull through this. But thank you for that. Really, really uh, think about the brain a lot these days. So
Yeah. And Dustin, for
Uh,
the people that have never seen this before, you want to give them a rundown of what goes on.
yes, on a typical note, how we usually do this show is you can ask your questions in the Twitch channel, or if you're in our Zoom room, all you got to do is just cut your camera and mute your mic. But you can hit the raise the hand bar. We'll see it, and you can ask Mr. Steve Risk here live your questions. I want to appreciate everybody being here and their support. It's a long time coming. I'm just glad to be back. I missed you guys. All right, Steve. I know we were talking about Bob Dunn, and one thing I know about Bob Dunn is there's a bunch of like new players that's he's brought on to this. And one thing I was going to talk to you about is I know which I've kept tabs this year. I know I was gone, but I kept tabs throughout the events, and I hear I still me like as long as I've been here playing, still to this day, I hear these new players like at Gen Con this year and stuff like that still say that they're just walking by and they hear that bell and the enthusiasm of the crowd, and that's what brings these new players in. Um, what can you explain the feeling that you get every time you see a new person just walk up?
for me, it's a dream come true. That's really the easiest way to put it. I love that Super Show is very strategic. I put a lot of thought into making it a game that was simple to learn, but there was a lot of complex strategy. But there's nothing that compares to somebody sitting down playing Super Show for the first time, and you could just see that they feel they're in a wrestling match. And they're getting it, and they're excited with every dice roll, and people are cheering and acting like the ref. And I know that the people playing that game feel that they are actually having a wrestling match. And to me, that's always what I set out to do with Super Show, more than anything. So when people get to feel that for the first time and you see how excited they are and so how happy they are, it's a dream come true for me, because I've always envisioned, you know, living all your wildest wrestling fantasies without ever taking a chair shot. And that's our pitch, and that's the truth. And just seeing new people join in and being enthusiastic, and then being able to reach out to veteran players, guys like Robert the Brain Dunn, other people like Press
Mm-hmm.
1P or Player of the Era, the Grump, Candyman Dan, Polka, some of the veterans that we have. And they go to these people or any of the coaches to learn about the game. You know, it's been around for 7 years at this point. It's really just a dream come true. we're building a legendary fighting federation the same way Rock Newman does it in this fantasy comic book that we're doing. But we get to see so many different people, and you never know who's going to really impact the community in a positive way and be the next big thing. You've seen guys like Brian Lee and Piglet, the Mop Boys, have hit the field, and everybody kind of loves those guys, and they're a mainstay in a tag team. But you look back maybe 6 months ago, there were no Mop Boys. I can't even think of a time when there was, like pre-Mop Boys era. But they're just one of many people, and never knowing who you're going to meet and what it's going to lead to is really exciting. But it really starts off with people trying the game for the first time and getting into it. Some people try it and they just want to test it. But if you're really looking to accept our world, where you're going to get into this character and get into the flow of the game, and it pays off, it really is just incredible to see.
Indeed, and it's always fun to hear these stories too, and it kind of always takes me back to the first time I heard about this game and my first Gen Con coming up, and it's still unreal. I mean, if I could, you said this game's been out 7 years, and I've been here for 6 years. I think it's way more. I mean, it's just as powerful as it was as day one, if even more powerful. So it's always a welcoming feeling. I think all these new players that come in, we treat it like family. They're not players.
Oh,
yeah. As someone who's been around from the beginning, it definitely is much bigger now than it ever was. It's always been steadily growing, and I feel it. I experience it, and it has so much accomplished in just such a small period of time. 7 years is not that much, but be able to survive for 7 years is a really big testament to the game that we created and the community that we built. And again, just seeing that sort of stuff not only come to life, but then to stick around and to slowly grow over time. I'm excited to see where we'll be at within the next decade and so on.
One thing I was gonna say, I know like we saw the New South Wrestling, like new competitors and stuff like that. Do you kind of see way more promotions like locally coming into the picture?
Oh yeah, I would love to. We have Catalyst Wrestling should be dropping, I think, November. We have so many things on the calendar. I don't have an exact date, but Catalyst Wrestling, their next show coming up, we should be debuting a bunch of competitors. I could pull up. Well, nope, cell phone's off. Off the top of my head, the Ugly Ducklings, Colby Carino, the Notorious 187 Homicide, Steve Gibkey, Darius Carter. That's all I remember off. There might be a few more, but that's Catalyst Wrestling, great company owned by Matt Ryan Shapiro. You might have seen him on episodes of Talk of the Universe and even Why Wrestling. That's a promotion that's local, but they also do televised wrestling, I believe, in Texas. So they have a really great following on their streams. Other companies, Public Enemy #1, TJ Marconi, works with a company called Project Codename Wrestling. I would absolutely love. I've been in talks with TJ and those responsible about getting a set, seeing those for the 2023 calendar. That would be the next company I would like to work with. So I definitely think we will see more. I could say with certainty with Catalyst being printed and in talks with TJ Marconi and getting some of his guys like PJ Savage and the Takeover. I think there's a lot of local people that would love to see those. And then again, if opportunities ever came up with like a GCW or MLW again, that we would love to make that happen.
Nice. And also I want to mention, Chibi, if you've got questions too, man, just, you.
Oh, I have my questions, but these have been very good questions so far. But if I may interject right now. So, Steve, as you've said, this community is more of a family than anything else. But I know for a fact that time after time, this community continues to surprise you in the amount of generosity that they give. And I was just hoping you could highlight one of the moments that you were shocked by how much the community gave?
Man, that is a tough question. The Bob Dunn art, we tried to really make a deal that had great value for people. But even with a great value, spending money is still spending money. And we've got an overwhelming amount of support for Bob, as it should. Bob has literally given so much to this company and others in this community. So that would probably be the most recent. The outreach, I don't even know how many cards we made. I literally just kept taking the form, sending them to Mike, keep it going. And then at the end, I'm going to take all the art when it's finished, and we're going to see what we could do with. We might even have enough to do a 30-card deck, and that's incredible. If we could do a full deck, every art features Bob Dunn, which to me is, I'm going to jump around for a second, then I'll get back to your question. Again, we talk about dreams come true. The first versions of Super Show, the goal was to produce decks where all the art featured the person on it. And that obviously is a little bit more expensive, and as you have to commission new art. But this would be one of the first decks that we do in this style. We did it with the 8-bit arts, but how cool would it be if you can get a one-player Robert the Brain Dunn deck? Maybe it comes with multiple versions of the characters, all sealed. You choose from these 4 characters, and you get a whole deck that's built, and every picture has the character on it, like the faction packs and such. I really love that look. And to see stuff like that unfold, that is something I wanted to do from day one, and then circumstances make it happen by accident. I didn't say I'm going to pre-sell 30 of these and we're going to make a deck. I basically just put them out there because I felt if we could show Bob these photos, I know that it would mean a lot to him, when he gets to see them. So didn't really go in there with a plan, and it panned out. But when it comes to generosity, I don't like to put people on the spot with it. I know myself and a lot of other people just try to help people as much as I can. Sometimes it comes as a surprise. But there's just so many instances where somebody can do something as small as post something on Facebook that could be interpreted the wrong way, and everybody checks it, and I see somebody post something positive, and all I see is players who play Super Show that I think may not have been as close if it wasn't for this game community, and they kind of dive right on top right there. But I always seem to see, I'll hear a story, so-and-so couldn't do this, and this one chimed in and made sure they got it for him. So this person always wanted this card, so hey, I managed to locate it, I'm going to give it to him for free, and they're going to open it up and it be in their order. And again, I don't really want to go into specifics because it's not my thing to say, and if it was me, I don't really like to advertise the things that we do. But I can say that an overwhelming amount of stories come in weekly. Some of them are moving, very, very moving and touching. Some of them are inspirational, but at the end of the day, it's a lot of nice things have been done. I like to let other people talk about it. I don't really want to, put things that I've done for people on blast publicly, because that's not why I did it. I did it because I genuinely wanted to, make an impact in somebody's life. Fulfill the van. We got that going on right now.
Oh, yeah.
Sold out of the rings. I did a little inventory. We have about 3 bins of toys right now that'll be completely given away.
And that's just starting off,
nice.
Right? Because that's definitely going to get even more. What was last?
We didn't even post yet officially.
Yeah.
Last year's we did fill an entire van with toys.
Just another question, or should we try to get some questions from the chat?
Well, if you want to go ahead, we can get some questions from the chat. Sure, we've got some.
Actually, most of the people are just saying, "Hey, the show is back," and why can't I hit Chibi with things?
Not the time or the place to be pegging Mr. Chibi.
I mean, I got it reset up, so if they want to, by all means, they can do it. But let's see. Other good question, Steve. I know at the beginning it's been a lot of what you design is based solely on actual wrestling. And since the Ikuzo and all the other that are fantasy based, galaxy based, CB based, how much outside of your comfort zone have some of these side projects put you?
I mean, I was just recording a rap song 25 minutes ago, so I say at this point I'm way outside of my comfort zone. We'll say if you went back to the early days, I want to say Octagon. That might not even be the right convention. Small little show in the library. Somebody had pitched Flame Hands. This is a true story. This is a good tell us about yourself, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be really bizarre how it comes full circle. So I was like, absolutely not. I'm sorry. I will not give people supernatural powers or anything like that in this wrestling game. So I turned down that character. I had even written that occurrence into a comic book, which will be in, I believe, book 6, where one of the contestants is selected by Rock Newman, and he's basically fed to Paulie the Pigeon, and it's a dude who comes out with flame hands, and he gets beat up by Paulie the Pigeon and doesn't make the cut. And now we have Terror Skull, who literally has flame hands, so he'll actually pick up these things on the way out of the comic. It'll be like a little Easter egg in it. And we have a whole world called Ikazo where they're doing spell casting and stuff. So it has gone so far off what I've thought. But as I developed Super Show, I've always looked back on the things I really enjoyed. And I love Super Smash Brothers. I love Mortal Kombat. I love Street Fighter. When I was a kid, I can remember playing in the bathtub and on the toilet bowl, wrestling matches and having Wolverine versus Spider-Man and versus Cable. And they all had different signature moves based on, the shape of their body parts, right? So these things were always cool to me. And I think that sometimes when you listen to what other people like, you become a little bit more open-minded to some of those things. And I think that there'll always be people who want Super Show to be exclusively wrestling, and they could build their cards with their deck and stick to wrestling moves, and they'll still do just fine. But I think that overall, most people are open to the idea of supernatural things, because wrestling in itself is supernatural, right? If you punched me in the face, I would be very hurt. I wouldn't be able to continue onto a match. So just on the basic level, these people have superhuman endurance and strength, so on and so forth. But then you get into characters like The Undertaker, who are casting lightning bolts and stuff, or Kane, who's set on fire and shooting a fireball. And those are some of the coolest wrestlers of all time, right? So to bring that into life, I think that's what wrestling tries to do. And because we're creating a world where in a game and comic books, you could do really whatever you want. That's kind of the main point. But yes, very far out of the comfort zone, I would say. I would think that there was no chance that on a small scale I would have put non-wrestling moves. I didn't even want to put catchphrases into the game. Taunt was something that was risky in the beginning, a card called Taunt. And now, Raise the Dead. Way to go from there, right?
All you can eat pork chops and ribs.
Yep. And what's really great about the game is storytelling, right? The game, you're going to get into why is this called that? Well, let me tell you about the largest tag team in the LFF, Girthquake, right? And then you go from there. Or choking on a chicken wing with Pat Mulligan, choking on a chicken wing that was too spicy when he went out to dinner with the Brain. And I think that stuff is really funny to me, and you enjoy it. And that's what the game is not only supposed to, at this point, not only capture a wrestling match, but also capture the community based around the wrestling matches.
And yeah, you can definitely see a lot of the community's input in all of these cards. I mean, you see Woolly Bullies doing so many different things. We also have Art of You dropping off the flaming hot panadas, or what are you doing?
I was calling the match in one of my favorite stores, Nerdvana, and it was one half of my favorite tag team, JPL, Jose Platino Lindo, and he was having an epic match. And Sometimes I get a roll on commentary and I just say random things. And as the match was heating up, I said the tostones are in the fryer, we're ready to go, or something to that. And it ended up being a card called "The Boss Drops the Fryer Panadas." I don't even know the name of this card, to be honest.
Off the top of your head.
Yeah, the boss drops the fire pinatas, and I know that like the game evolved to not only capture that commentary but also hit cool keywords. It has drop and fire in it. I think it's fire pinatas.
I mean, boss is also a keyword.
Boss a keyword too, right? So you see some real obscure names.
One thing, if you don't care, Chibi, one thing I was interested in, and you've done it before, but I was kind of wondering if you would ever bring it back, is cards with entrances. I thought that was the coolest thing ever, but I was going to ask, like, would you ever bring that back?
Cards with entrances?
Cards that like you say it gets additional effects if an entrance is there.
No, like entrance music, like it had the little bar.
Oh, absolutely, like, yes, yeah, I would love to. As we work more in the music industry, we have lots of songs that probably should or due to be uploaded with music. The problem is, like what happened earlier, is if we don't keep the website devoted to it, the link will break. So we want to move into having all of it, but absolutely, we have music for the Gold Standard, Sage, Gropar the Great and Powerful, Ariel Lipstick, Numero Uno. We have a lot of great music that we created. The Magnificent Mr. Ray, but it'd be really cool to see them with a QR code again, but where it would land. It probably is better nowadays. Again, I'm kind of thinking out loud to do like what we do with the SR Goddess records, is put it all on a SoundCloud and then link right to that. Or to the website, you know, something where people could go and check out the music. But yes, I would definitely like to do more of that. Whether or not we'll have the opportunity, it would be really cool to do more of that.
And going into that, so why are you doing this new push towards rapping? Is it something that you've wanted to do? Is it a challenge? Is it for the betterment of Super Show or what?
I would say it's definitely separate from Super Show, but I would say it also enhances it because I'm working with a lot of people from the community. I would say because of Super Show, if you go way back, Young Allergy, who I think is fantastic, is super talented, way more talented than I'll ever be, or I aspire to be. We had a fun little rap battle, and I thought it came out really good. And I've always liked music, started doing music for the competitors. We did that rap battle a couple of times. I've actually worked with some of the Three Kings where we did some fun stuff. King Greatness, who's a very good friend of mine, was producing his own beats and stuff. And I enjoyed doing it to the point where I set out one of my New Year's resolutions to put out a full-on mixtape. And I really love music, and I've been enjoying what we've been doing immensely, but I do want to produce music. That is really my goal more so than anything. But you cannot produce music unless you have experience with it. So I've been really enjoying not only making the music, but my favorite part of doing it is showing my kids that if they want to make something, because my kids are really enjoying music and dancing, that they can do it. And like just today when I had showed my oldest daughter, hey, I ordered this beat that just came in when we went to Salem. We were on Essex Street. I heard one guy playing the bagpipes. One guy was playing a hip hop song. I think it would be incredible if you put the bagpipes on a boom bap style beat. I ordered it. Here's the song and the chorus that I want to do. You know, this is based off a shirt that I saw in Salem. It was really cool. And then I started writing up a verse and setting that stuff up. And just that whole sort of process to me is incredible to share it with my kids. And I think if we could build a brand and a company, that this is something that my kids would love to start working in as they get older. So again, I know this is like a really huge answer to this whole thing, but I never planned to do it. I had fun doing it. I remember my daughter made a comment one day where it would be really cool if your father was a rock star. So I was like, okay, challenge accepted. And I had the opportunity again to work with people that are super talented. Zach Bruno is a guy that you guys know is the veteran referee Zach Snow, El Gato Sombrio. He was in a group called Cloudwalker. He is amazingly talented. To be able to share a booth with him and get advice from somebody like him has been absolutely amazing. Bobby Ohio, the one you love to know, mother loving Bobby Ohio. From the moment I met this guy, I knew he was gifted. His talent is immense. To be able to collaborate with him on some stuff is it's amazing. And just to get to people and see them in their element, in their comfort zone, and getting me out of a comfort zone, putting something together that we could show, and it coming together is just incredible. I like to make things, whether it's a game or music or, a sort of experience. And once I said that I wanted to do a mixtape, I had to finish it. I'm a very tough critic on myself. I want to do it. At the end of the day, I'm having a really good time. I feel like it's very good for my mental health to have an outlet, And again, once I do my full mixtape, do 2023, I'm going to look to be a music producer. That means hire people, collaborate with them, mix music, try to sell music, distribute it. That's what I would like to add to my resume of things that I do. I hope that answers the question. I know I'm all over the place.
That definitely answers the question. But Dustin?
Also, if you don't care, Chibi, make sure on our Twitch channel if they have any questions.
I'm watching the chat as we go.
Okay.
Sorry, Italian Babata was bringing up, hey, you can upload the songs to YouTube and have a QR code that takes you directly to the YouTube video.
Well, there's a great friend here, Google Docs Dan of Impact, very talented when it comes to making things. He's helped me make some video editing. He is actually doing, lyric videos for stuff. And that's what I'm trying to say is what I really enjoy about what I'm doing is it gives so many other people things to do too. And Google Docs Dan mentioned starting up a YouTube page where he could do song lyrics and things like that. And honestly, I would give him all the songs we want. I would love to have somebody else promoting it. And if his page blows up, that's incredible, right? So I like being able to do that. I like being able to collaborate with people.
That's really nice too. I mean, my time away, I kind of got out of my comfort zone. So it's always cool when you try to, try to get into new things and new styles. And a lot of times, people say you never know unless you try. So, I always admire getting out of your comfort zone.
And it takes a ton of work. We rehearse, we practice, we write, we have to negotiate contracts with artists and stuff. So that part of it is great experience. And for example, my oldest daughter is signed up for drama club. She has her own rehearsal. How can I show her to rehearse stuff if I'm not doing it myself? And my daughter will see I'm in the car with her and this is a rough thing. These are the verses, these are the chorus I want to do. And then 2 weeks later, I'll have a mixed and mastered song and she'll see the finished product and she'll see me randomly practicing, taking, 30 minutes out of my day or an hour a day to practice and rehearse. So I think that it's really helpful as a role model to your kids and people around you as well to, go in and put in the work for something that they could see and is tangible,
And once again, asking if anyone has any questions out there that they would like to say. If you're in the Zoom, please use the raise hand feature. Otherwise, just put it into the Twitch chat and we'll get to your questions as they come up.
Yeah, we have a lot of other stuff besides music you guys are, want to hear. Music is just one of my many passions. We obviously have some big Super Show releases coming out. We have the Catalyst that we mentioned. We have some new characters that are Time Warp themed coming back for PAX Unplugged. We've been producing the comic books. Those will be on Kickstarter, 3 new issues with some new characters. That's been, again, an incredible journey to have a concept. We look at some of the issues that were written 7-8 years ago, and now we're intertwining them. That's really incredible. And music can enhance that as well, right? We're going to use the music for some live streams and clips for the characters. And we also have Scallywager, right? Scallywager is a game that has been developed, I think, about 6 years ago. It was created and Now we've been working with Elvis, who is an incredible artist, on creating 5 pirate lords of this fictional world that we've created, each with 5 different seas. They each have their own unique ships and backstories. So you're going to see this artwork is absolutely incredible. But to be able to work on that project with guys like Pat Mulligan is really exciting.
And we have our first question here. Ken Fouché would like to know, what was your favorite competitor to work on this year?
My favorite Super Show competitor to work on this year is an awesome question. I would say Slime Girl, probably up there. As we developed Slime Girl, I really liked picturing what it would be like if somebody had superpowers that can manipulate slime, and really kind of exploring that. And I picture Slime Girl as like Ant-Man, who was able to manipulate ants and turn them into things. Basically, slime is a living organism, just like an ant is. And like Elsa, right? Elsa is able to manipulate snow into different things and animate it. I think that Slime Girl would be able to do that. So working on a character that my daughter had come up with, and then actually trying to put, science fiction behind it, was really fun and exciting. And then to think about how she would start off, basically in the experience of working with slime, and then how she would over time master her powers to become super strong, or strong enough to fight in the Ikazo universe. That was a lot of fun. I'd also say the new tag team in the Kickstarter comics was something that Pat Mulligan had written up in the original CCC. Might have been the second CCC, actually. Double Vision, the team of Ray and Jay, and who they are and what their finishing moves. That was a great one to work on, because we looked into the history of trapeze and some of the techniques that they use, and what techniques we can use to make it similar to a wrestling move but still be the actual trapeze technique, and cool sounding names. So that was fun to work on. I'd say those are the two that jump out, but I have not thought about who my favorite one was. So I might have overlooked somebody and be like, wow, that was amazing. How did I forget about that?
Okay. And after that first question, now all the questions start coming. So I'm going to read one more from the chat and then go into the one that's in here. So Ronnie Robb says, it seems like the card pool has really dynamically shifted over the last year. What new card line would you say has been the most impactful that has come out in the last few months? Like, he gives examples of like the Boss Beats line and such.
Boss Beats is huge, right? I'd say Boss Beat, the ring post bumper cards, the stop hate ones where your opponent has to stop and play draw 2, those got a lot. Eternal Contact was a really big one. I also think the internal constriction, new ways of blanking your opponent's gimmick. It's a powerful slot that it has a condition, but prior to this, you had to give up a stop any to blank your opponent's gimmick. So that's a great addition. It's very hard to say because we design a lot of these cards to make them fair and balanced. And still, even with that, they are meta shifting and defining. Boss Beat has an incredible effect against certain matchups, but there are also a lot of matchups where it's just worse than a drop kick, right? So I think it's such a really well-designed card, but it also shifts the meta, like Ronnie had said. So I don't know if I could pick. Derailed is always one that pops into my head, even though it's an older card, but that one is just the most polarizing card, I think, in the history of Super Show.
Good. So now we're going to go to Dark Prince. If you'll please just unmute, do not turn on your video, and ask your question.
There he goes.
What's up?
Oh, hey, man.
I said don't turn on the camera.
Oh, my bad.
It's all good.
Okay, I just got a simple question for the BOSS. The simple question is, if you were at any type of wrestling company and you were going after a tag team title, which company will you go for, and who will you bring as a tag team partner?
I know my partner would be Public Enemy #1 TJ Marconi because he is 6'6", and I'm sure he could beat up 2 men. I wouldn't even have to train that much. What company? Whichever one paid me the most, Mikey. You know, I have no allegiance to any company except my own. And if it was AEW who was signing the biggest check, or if it was WWE or New Japan Pro Wrestling or Catalyst Wrestling, I would say that one, you know. Right now, I'm not looking to get into the ring. I would love to get in the ring for House of Glory. That was one of the biggest companies in the world, the biggest one here in New York. But I would say Public Enemy #1 TJ Marconi would be the person that I would select. And where we would go, I'm sure we'd start somewhere and we'd take over every sort of tag team division.
Okay, good to hear. Carry on, guys.
Thank you, Dark Prince, for the question.
All right. Thank you, Mikey.
All right. Next, we have. I'm going to go through the simpler questions because they're just entertaining, and then we'll go back to another serious one. We got International Fool asking if you had to choose Huskus the cow, Willow the wolf, or Woolsey the wolf. He has 2 wolves.
What am I doing with them?
Just picking which one you prefer, I guess.
I would say Willow. Willow is a cool word. It is a line I use in a song. It is Willow Smith, who is super talented. So I would go with that one. That sounds like the coolest name.
And then DHS101 asks, wait for it or cannoli?
Again, it's just in overall general.
I guess so. Because he doesn't give any
Anthony the Cannoli Perry.
Okay. And then he also asked Candy Ma'am or Candy Man Dan?
Dan.
Dan. And then Cat or...
And I love Candyman, so that's saying a lot about Candyman Dan. Again, Candyman, I've worked with her on music. I've played Super Show with her. I went on vacation with both of them. But, you know, Dan edges you out a little bit.
And then last was Cat or Snake. These are some very odd questions that DHS 101 is at. But one of the better questions that he asked is, if you could redo any competitor's gimmick, what would it be?
Anybody who's been 2020. The list is way too long. I mean, there's a lot of things that I think it would have changed. Sometimes I don't even like bringing them up because I cross some turbulence. But at the end of the day, I think that not everyone is going to be able to identify the things that help you out. And that's part of the game. Some cards I think might be a little bit too strong, like Alien Invasion, but then I don't know. You know, you might just see things swing other ways. But one character, if I could go over and redo, it's hard to say because we have 20/20 vision. So like I do that. You know, it's not like we can't ever fix anything.
I guess it means if you could have just never had this gimmick be a problem in the first place.
I don't know. Maybe Peter Lionheart.
Peter Lionheart.
Never
have the blanking, the finishers be a problem.
It's good to try things. I know that sounds silly, but like I was pretty sure it was a bad idea, and then I think we proved it was a bad idea. But maybe not, because like Peter Lionheart is out not winning every event. But I don't know. It's interesting. I would have probably made Johan Sibelius stronger.
There we go.
But like I can't even talk crap because you know Chibi went out there and won an event with it. So I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm no longer speaking crap. Like he did it. I saw it with my own eyes.
Italian Bombata asks, any updates on Ikuzo Set 2? When will we see them come out? And any spoilers on which competitors are getting redone for that? Bombata asking the hard questions right there.
I believe the last update I got was March. We have Jason Carty doing some art on some new characters. We have all the old original ones being alt-arted by a brand new artist that we're working with, and they are incredible. Slime Girl, one of my favorites. Not to spoil too much, but like Slime Girl is sitting on the hand of a slime monster, so like that's her competitor card. It's really awesome. I don't believe we've released the new characters. I do know what they are, but I'm gonna wait for them to be built up. But I will say that we are updating all of the art on Ikazo. So if you were lucky enough to get one of the first waves illustrated by Arnav, all that stuff is going to be harder to get, if not impossible at the time of the reprints.
And Nepsilon asks, what's the wildest gimmick idea you've ever heard?
Oh boy.
This will be good.
I think one gimmick that got pitched to me, I'm sure there have been way like wild, I'd say the most unbalanced one I ever heard was when you roll a 10, draw a card, you may play 2 additional cards this turn, and also I believe if you rolled your 5, you switch it to 10. So I believe that was, I know there was a switch, so it was like one gimmick which was like you draw a card on 10, so arguably already better than Rising Sun. And then, like, aside from that, you become Merlin von Berlin, where you get to play 2 cards. And then, aside from that, you can't roll a 5, and your 5 switches to a 10. So, like, you not only are a better Merlin / Rising Sun, but then you get to do it twice instead of once.
That's 3 gimmicks in one.
Yeah,
and
like
one
3,
of those
like,
gimmicks is ridiculous.
Yeah, right. Like, that was like the icing on the cake, and, you know, it's hard. Sometimes you think people don't know any better, but that's pretty wild. There's been the other ones that are crazy. I think that my mindset right now is really like, if I read it and my gut tells me no, it's just next, and I don't even look at it ever again. I don't even want it to take up space in my hard drive, if that makes sense. You know, like, it's like, no, I can't even entertain this. It is just way too far off the mark. You know, let's start from scratch. So I try not to really focus on too much. But there have been a lot of them where I'm just like, no, you know, can't do this.
Right, folks, we're in the last 20 minutes or so that we have. If you have any questions, please get them in right now. We got Ronnie Roms. With a lot of the new smaller cons having good showings this year, do you have a favorite new small con?
Oh, man. I don't want to put over a con. I think the cons are about the people that show up. First, I want to start with that. So I'm trying to think of the cons that I did this year that I didn't get to do. Tantrum Con, I got to meet Mark Robb and Bruce Robb. That was a really fun convention. I think Dragon Con this year, if you want to call that a smaller one, that one really exceeded expectations for me as well. Hanging out with Jeremy and Hold the Line Hirey. Fandom Fest was a different experience for me because I was brought in as a panelist and not just a demoer. So Fandom Fest was great. It's hard. Again, favorites is such a tough word for me. It really, like, there are some things like purple's my favorite color. I'll give you that. But like, aside from that, it's really hard for me to pick favorite convention. I'm just really happy to be a part of all the small shows that I've been a part of. I missed ArmorCon this weekend, but Jason Poisson and the Penguin were there. And the last few times I went there, it was really great. From my point of view, it's conventions offers totally different things based on size, right? For me, obviously, I love a Gen Con and Origins because without those events, this company, this brand is not here. It's only do a major amount of sales and a major amount of work. But it's also 7 days of work for me. Sometimes I go to these smaller conventions and I work for a couple hours and then I play games and I hang out with people and I make like much better connections with them. So those conventions are always really fun to me. You know, even local stores where I could go there and do a CAC with 30 people and spend the time with people and hang out. Those are really great. But favorite is tough for me, Ronnie. Asking a lot of good questions.
Right. And he says that Tantrum was different but intimate and you got to meet a lot of new people, which is always. I had one last question that I wanted to bring out. with the return of the Grand Gathering this next year, what are the things you want to improve on from the first one, and technically the digital second one, and what are things you would like to do in the future?
The Grand Gathering one was one of the best weekends of my life, and I think a lot of people's there. I feel everything about it was just so dope and amazing, even down to like the elevators being so crappy becoming legendary, you know. And to me, I don't know what I'd want to improve. You know, obviously some people would love to have 500 people there instead of 150, but again, I mean, I'm very grateful to walk into a room with 150 people that want to play Super Show and hang out. So I would just say, if it is, you know, close to what year one was, or even half as good, it's still going to be incredible for anybody who gets there. So I don't know what we could really improve on. It went really smooth. What would I like to do more of the Grand Gathering? I don't know. I guess what we did, I want to do more stuff incorporating people there. Again, we have the events. There's so many events we're trying to cram in, but I would like to get quality video and quality photos while we're there. And some of it's structured, right? I would love to see more promo videos like we did. And we have a lot of them. And not only like recording them, but posting them and sharing them and building up something to kind of show how it evolved. I think we could definitely do that better. So again, I say all the time, group photos, folks. I may sound like I'm getting old, but looking back on those photos is concrete proof of good times and good memories. So it goes a long way to get some good photos and videos that we're going to be able to cherish down the line.
What would be fun is if you can have a setup camera that can record a 2-minute promo at most, and then anytime you go to commercial during the stream, that one of those promos pops up.
Oh, that'd be incredible. Yeah, that takes a lot of tech savviness that's over my head, but it would be incredible. I think we could do so many cool things. Just if you saw some of the video packages that we made, capturing a match and the excitement. I mean, one of the coolest videos that we have is the Fatal 4-Way with Italian Bombata, and that's edited and it's cut up by an expert editor, and it really captures the excitement of that match and seeing moments where the dice went crazy and people reacted to it, because we had the whole match filmed and you kind of cut out the best parts. Like, having more of that would be really incredible.
And I was gonna mention Grand Gathering too. Good job, Jimmy. But do you plan on? I know, like for Grand Gathering 1, I mean, like you said, amazing stories. We actually had the bartenders playing until 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. It was fun.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff we could talk about was epic, and there's things that we won't even talk about which were even more epic.
Yeah. Do you plan on? I know from the first one. Do you plan on doing entrances again, or like people dress up, or?
Oh, encouraged, of course. Dress up, bring your gear, shoot promos. We'll talk with Loudmouth Leo Larynx, who coordinated the entrances last time. He did an incredible job. General Manager John Calais introduced all 100 people. That's just, a huge feat in itself. I would love to get that all up and running again. I think that that's a huge part of the Grand Gathering. So yeah, I would love more entrances and the showmanship and the experience of all of it. You remember that hallway everybody crammed into?
Oh,
yeah. I remember Loudmouth wanted to give everybody a minute. And I was like, dude, you can't have a minute entrance for 100 people. Like, we got to cut this down 10 seconds, something like that. Give them 10. And everybody crushed it. Pat Mulligan did a little forward roll coming out. So,
I mean, we were literally, you can't really explain it. We were like sardines in a can. Basically.
Yeah. And we pulled it off. We got all the intros. The Jester ends up winning it with Matt Riddle after all that. It was really incredible. Everything about it was fun, from the seating, prepping everybody where to go and get in there. And I think like 90% of the people nailed the spot they were going to. Only a couple people got confused, but that was part of the fun. We really pulled off the whole thing. The event itself went smooth as hell, for a thing that's so far off from the original game, and you have rules that probably came from a notepad on my phone, and who knows what's doesn't hold up a few years later. It's always fun. It went super smooth.
And I encourage any new players or anybody that's never been to one, I encourage you to go. I'm gonna be honest with you, for myself, I put it above Gen Con. I had more fun at the Grand Gathering than I did at any con, to be honest.
Oh, of course. I mean, we're in the same building as people, you could play Super Show all day long and just hang out with this crowd. I mean, this community, again, is one of the best communities in general. We're playing gaming all night, talking, swapping stories, having fun, having laugh. If you're into it, at a certain point, you have a drink with some of your friends. It's a totally different experience from a convention where you're commuting back and forth. There's a clothing time, etc. I know a lot of people said it was one of the best weekends of their life, and it was for me. And I've done a lot of stuff. Again, not a sales pitch. I've done a lot of cool stuff in my life, and I'd say Grand Gathering is one of the best memories I ever have. And I have 3 kids, so I don't want them to be offended when I say that too. But like it was amazing. Everything about it. People just genuinely having a really good time for 3 straight days.
Ken Fouché asked, what's the convention schedule for the rest of the year? I know we're in the last basically 2.5 months of it, but
it's always evolving, and I'm so bad with the calendar just because my mentality is just get up and do, and hope that I don't miss any appointments. I know we have PAX. That's a big one. I've just been invited to a wrestling show. Caveman is launching a show, which is November 5th. Which is the same day as an Atlanta CAC. I've been invited to that. I know we're looking to do Captain Con. Captain Con could be December or February or March. I don't have a clue. That might be on the calendar this year. But I don't think a lot of major ones, aside from PAX. I might be overlooking stuff, but even the small ones, sometimes people hit me up and they say that there's space available, or they're looking for a panelist, or they're looking for something. And if it's within reach, I'm going to go head down to it. I know Saratoga Comic Con, I just bumped into somebody in Salem that said that they might be interested. So if I can get down to Saratoga Comic Con, that might happen.
Random chance on that one. Okay. Dustin. So
yes,
we're in the last 5 or so minutes of the show, and this was started back in the Foxworthy era of the show, the season 2. Where he would have the special guest ask the host questions. Did you want to continue that?
Okay.
All right, so boss.
Yeah, I'd say go right ahead. I mean, it don't matter to me.
Yeah. So, boss, if you would like to ask a question to each of us, by all means.
Mr. Dustin Garman, did you specifically wear a Green Bay hat because I like the Minnesota Vikings as well as General Manager John Calais?
Yes, but also I got new Nike. Like my favorite color is green anyway, because green is money. But I just had to get something to match anyway. But yeah, on top of that, pretty much.
Mr. Chibi, Thursday nights have been a roller coaster for Super Show events. How do you feel Thursdays are performing? We saw a big night from Press 1P. People love to come see your tri-state champion. We know that. How do you feel handling the various rules questions in a game with a limited rule book? How's that weighing on you? So just what's up with Thursday nights?
Thursday nights are still the de facto night for Super Show online wrestling. They still very regularly hit over 20. There's only been one time this year that it's been below 16. But like, even with the amount of events that people are going to, they still make an effort to come out for Thursday nights. And I mean, some people they have run themselves ragged on how much money they have spent for this game. So missing a couple of weeks makes sense because you have to recover somewhere, and an online Thursday night event is probably the best one to recover from. On the question of rules questions. Most of them are very easily in my ability to answer. Most questions are just people going off of, hey, we don't know how competitor A interacts with competitor B. What do we do? And usually it's just like, okay, let's look at similar cases and come up with something from that. No big deals. It's usually when you get questions from John P, Grump, Candyman. Well, Candyman Dan's questions are usually pretty simple, but when you get questions from the big guys, you know, okay, this is going to be a head scratcher. But usually it's also just.
I had a good one with them today, so I'm going to ask you too. Do I get a follow-up question?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Doubling finishers, Mr. Chibi.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do set up the table with a card that says double these bonuses?
Double these bonuses. Okay, so set up the table adds text to the card. So the finisher says whatever it normally says. If these bonus double these bonuses, at the bottom it says you're because nowhere has it ever said that the text goes on the bottom, but that's how it's always been treated. So it's below the part that gets doubled. So it's just the once. But I remember.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree.
There are times where other things are causing the effect to double. Mostly like
gimmick.
Yeah, usually it's gimmick related, in which case those cause so many more headaches, especially like the tag team one.
What is added to an adding? It's like double this and double again.
So it's the scenario with Anarchy Sons tag team where they double the strikes. So double the text on strikes. So if you have a set up the ladder in play, you double the set up the ladder, so it has 2 instances of the text. And then when you hit that finisher, you now have 2 instances of that text getting doubled again.
Yeah.
Which, for some people, it's very hard to understand exactly what's going on. For people that can come up with rulings, it's a lot easier, but someone's not going to be happy no matter.
Yeah, but the whole you double it, then you double it when it adds to the card, and now when that card adds to the other one, you also double it. Which again is one of those things where I don't think it's that impactful of a ruling, right? Where it would be nice and easy to just say no, you just get +2 instead of +1. Like all that other stuff that goes on is technically right, but like why complicate it so much, you know?
Because some people are looking for ways to win, and they're just angle shooting. Okay, I just got hit by cannoli.
Yeah, and it might be really game changing, and it might not be. Like that was one. You know, Grump asked me a question today. Again, one of the things that came up, and he confused me, and I got it wrong. I got to double check for press 1P, and I was incorrect. With like application of what's the difference between sharpshooter and Prima Lotta's finish?
Oh, that one has been getting so much, like so many what if scenarios in.
Yeah, we did this on the Mudcast, where if it's a modifier, it has to go before calculating anything. So, for example, with sharpshooter, you apply it immediately because you're going to modify the result. But a thing like Prima Lotta that says if your finish roll was 11, then you can only have one finish roll. You didn't have a 9 and then +2 for the crown meter. They can't break out. So that one seemed a little bit more clear to me that there was no gray area. But then when people bring up sharpshooter, I'm like, listen, sharpshooter is a disaster guy. Like, it's going to end up where I'm going to make a ruling that makes sharpshooter worse and everybody's going to cry.
I mean, if you make it worse, then there's a reason why you don't use it anymore. Like, it may have been the de facto, hey, you have a bad sub, use sharpshooter, but now it makes people go, well, there's no reason to play sharpshooter anymore. Too bad, so sad. The game evolves, making rulings work for the majority of the cards instead of a singular case definitely brings more understanding for a lot of people.
Yeah, and like then people say rules would change, and it's hard to even have these conversations because this is a hypothetical scenario, right? But like one of the things we discussed was, what if the rule was just flat? You calculate always including crowd meter. Like with that, what would that do? That would make a card like sharpshooter worse. But I'm like, is it still really good at crowd meter 0? You know,
there being a rule that just solidifies what happens will make everyone stop. Well, it will make people cry about cards getting worse or cards getting better, but it definitely takes a lot of the guesswork out.
Yes, you know, that's again, that's one line of thought.
Yeah, those are
not
good.
How I ever wrote the game, but if it said that whenever you calculate, you include the bonuses from the crowd meter, you know, but that might open up a can of worms too, where now you're going in sequence, right? Because like technically, sharpshooter would read like, if your finish roll is 7 or less, it is +2, and then the next line would be like, your finish rolls are +1. You know, I think it just opens up this whole can of worms.
But it's definitely something that when it is, if you ever take the initiative to figure this part out of how this all should all these different effects intertwine with each other, then once you have this decided and say, this is how it goes from here on out, people are just going to have to agree with it.
Right. And I think that the way it's ruled right now is clear to me, and it might not be to everyone, but if there's a modifier, you have to do that first. But something that Primolata that says if your finish roll was 11 or greater, like you have to include the crowd meter because you only have one finish roll. It's finalized. You can't say my finish roll was 11, but it was only really 9 because the crowd meter. No, it's your finish roll was 11, so the game would end. Or something like the final splash, which is, I think if you rolled 9 or higher, they bury 3 in their hand. I think that would include the crowd meter. But I'm glad I got to ask you guys a question because it's something that came up in my day today. And sometimes I get questions and people don't, send me what the card says or anything. It's hard, and you have to do it
on
the spot, right? Oh, yeah. And you might get things wrong, and I've said by this. There is no redo. It's just like the NFL. If the ref makes a call and we decide collectively it wasn't, it's my bad. I'm sorry. Let's move on. Now I know that that's the right call.
And that's what I live off of on that, because I know that I have a good mind for this stuff. So I make a ruling, and if later it's, oh, boss said this, okay, then we'll go with that going forward. But I know that that 90% of the time you're going to agree with what I come up with anyway.
Yeah, and I don't like to, again, as I said, open up a can of worms. For example, right, Impact Bomb says +1, +2. If you're a trio, triple these bonuses. And then it says add 1 submission from your in-play to your hand.
That's right? After the doubling effect, so it's not included.
So it would not be tripled, right? And that's that's how it's printed. That's what it does. If you played and picked 3 up, now we're just going to clarify. That's how it works, right? And I think that makes it easier. And then at the end of the day, if Impact Bomb got slightly worse in your eyes or in the gameplay, that's okay. It's fine.
And I think that is all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for a bit of time, Steve. This was a lot of fun. Dustin, do we have anyone in the queue for next time?
All right, so talking to you, Chippy, I know next Tuesday you won't be able to, correct?
I won't be available for the next 2 weeks.
All right, so we're looking possibly at, let me see here. So November the 1st is out, correct?
That's out. Actually, probably the 25th is available. So if we have anyone that wants to do it on the 25th, if you want to reach out to Dustin, so we can get you scheduled. But then afterwards, it would probably be the 8th.
Alrighty. I wanted to double check with you before I said anything. All right. So next Tuesday, I actually have open slots, and November is open. Just like before. If you want to hit me up, you'd like to be a special guest. I don't turn anybody down. I want to I want to include everybody. And when you're on the show, I'll go over questions and topics that you would like to discuss. This episode is all about you. It's all about yourself, just like the title.
Yep. All right. Well, with that, that's the show. Can we get a bye, man?
Bye, man.
And I'll see you later. Thank you, Steve.
My pleasure.